We're live.
Yay.
For some reason, Audacity's opening. Why?
Well, that's weird.
I must have clicked it by mistake. Hello and welcome to the Aftershow.
Hello.
The episode 910 Aftershow. Phil,
Yes, sir.
are you excited about this Aftershow?
I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah? Why?
Well, because I get to experience an exciting conversation with my dear friend, Greg Seward.
Aw.
I have my feet soaking in a tub of room temperature 7-Up, and the bubbles are tickling my tootsies.
I don't think I could have guessed that's what you were going to say.
No. Now you know.
So listen, we don't have a game for this week.
We don't.
I blame CJ.
You know what we could do?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a deck of Uno cards? We can play Tele Uno.
I don't. But the last time that it was just you and I on the show.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a game to play.
Yeah.
We just had a discussion about, I think it was the Genesis?
That was like a couple weeks ago, right?
That was, yeah. It wasn't that long ago because CJ takes frequent vacations now.
He does.
So the Patreon must be doing pretty well. But
I wouldn't know.
So I think we could do, the people seem to like that. So I think we can do something like that again.
Okay.
But this time,
what
we're going to do, we're going to start with you.
Oh, dear.
So obviously, one of the things that led to the three of us knowing one another is that we all worked at Ziff Davis on various magazines. And I'm curious.
That's the only thing that led to us knowing each other.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yes.
I would love to hear the story about how you ended up working on a video game magazine.
Oh my goodness.
And what the first I want to say episode issue was.
I won a contest.
You just said in the previous episode you didn't win contests.
Well, that was a lie. A subterfuge meant to distract you from the reality of the situation. Okay, I'll tell you how. So this was back in the early 90s. I had finished up my 2 years of junior college. Got my associate's degree. I made a brief attempt to attend film school in Chicago. And that lasted a semester.
I assume. Yeah. Great.
Before I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was working at Babbage's to make a little extra scratch.
Which is almost as good as working in film.
Yep. And my dear friend, who I went to high school with, you know him. His name is Sean Smith.
Mm-hmm.
You know Sean, a.k.a. Seanimal.
Did you see that he had a bunch of art plastered all over, was it the trains?
Chicago trains and buses?
Yeah.
And bus stops? Yeah, so Sean, people who are old school EGM fans will remember Sean Smith. He was a member of the review crew back in the mid to late 90s. And he eventually left and started pursuing art full time under the kind of pen name Seanimals.
Mm-hmm.
He created the Ninja Town,
of which there were a couple of games made.
There was an iPhone game and a DS game.
Yeah,
and they were fun games too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's still living in Chicago being an artist. And yeah, there's some like children's charity or something that he was working with. And yeah, like there are trains and buses in Chicago right now that are just plastered with his artwork. And it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just really outstanding stuff. But yeah, Sean had gotten a job. I met Sean in high school. We were in the publications class together. because we were both on the.
Sounds like a made up class.
Well, it was the high school. It was the class for the high school newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah, we learned about because we were both wanted to be on the paper, and to be on the paper, you had to take the publications class where you learned about the process of creating a newspaper. Skills that are very much in demand these days.
I was going to say, serving you well later in life.
But yeah, so we were in publications together, became buddies because we were both big nerds. And eventually at some point, Sean ended up getting a job working at EGM. And if I remember correctly, and see, this is one of those things. My getting a job in the industry is very much it's not what you know, it's who you know.
I think most of us are that way.
Yeah. And this kind of goes like all the way down the line, because if I remember correctly, and again, I might be misremembering some of these details, but if I do remember correctly, Joe Funk.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Funk was the former editorial director.
Yep.
Yes. Of the Ziff Davis game group that overlooked EGM and was it Expert Gamer or was it EGM 2?
I think he was the editorial director during both of those stints.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like the PlayStation magazine and all of Ziff stuff. So if I remember correctly, at one point, Sean was dating Joe Funk's cousin.
I had no idea about this.
I believe that's what it was. I believe Sean was dating some gal who just happened to be related in some fashion to Joe Funk. And then it was very much oh, my boyfriend, you really like video games. My cousin or uncle or who, I don't know the relation, but yeah, I have a relative who works at a video game magazine. You should totally meet him. And that's how Sean, as far as I remember, that's how Sean met Joe. And then Sean was able to get a job through knowing Joe. And then, of course, a little ways down the line, I was talking to Sean or hanging out with him or something one day. And he mentioned, oh, hey, EGM is, we're coming up on the holiday issues. And
which used to be massive.
And yeah, the holiday issues, a magazine that would normally be 90 pages was suddenly like a 300-page magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to hire a couple people, on a part-time contract, kind of temporary hire basis to work over the kind of holiday months to assist in producing these giant issues. And Sean was like, yeah, they're looking to hire some people. You should apply. You're a good writer. You should do that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I absolutely will. So I put together a resume, which at that point was essentially just, I was on my high school newspaper. I work at a video game store. I have a 2-year college degree, which quite frankly made me overqualified to work at EGM at the time.
Yeah.
This was, again, this was right around the time when they were still kind of hiring high school kids.
Like CJ.
Exactly. So yeah, I wrote up my little resume. I wrote up a couple writing samples. I wrote up some, reviews of contemporary games. I don't remember what they were. I wish I still had those. I may have actually typewritten them now that I think about it. I think I may have typed those up on a typewriter. This was a long time ago. And yeah, I got those to the magazine. I'm assuming I gave them to Sean to hand off to Ed Semrad. who was, of course, the editor-in-chief at that time. And they called me up. They said, we'd like to have you come in for an interview. So I drove up to Lombard, Illinois, and had an interview with Ed. And I was very, very excited. It was an incredible, strange new world I was entering into, going into this office, this tiny, messy office. You never saw the Lombard office,
no,
did you?
The Lombard office. I heard lots of stories.
Yeah. It was, it was a relatively small office. And again, it was very kind of ramshackle and kind of hastily put together. It was not organized well.
I seem to remember somebody who had a desk that was like 2 filing cabinets and a door.
I think that was CJ's desk.
I think it was CJ.
Yeah. It was definitely that kind of thing. One of the walls had a hole in it. Where
is that where Crispin sat?
No, I believe that was John Gurka.
Oh, I didn't know him.
You didn't know Gurka. You've certainly heard the stories of Gurka.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Gurka was a big, angry man. he was, and this is the terrible thing. And you know what? I if I remember, I believe John died a few years ago.
Oh.
But he was actually a nice enough guy if you were just kind of talking to him.
Right.
But when he would get riled up about a game, you end up with a hole in the wall.
Jesus.
So yeah, Crispin just took out his rage.
Crispin was like that too.
Yeah, well, Crispin took out his rage on it was like the garbage can
or keyboards.
Oh yeah.
I watched him slam a keyboard down once and watched keys pop off all over it.
Oh, that's pretty funny. But yeah, so you going into this place and it's very kind of ramshackle, a bunch of dudes in their early 20s just bustling around, stacks of every video game you could possibly imagine, piles of Famitsu magazines all over the place. I go into Ed's office. He had a Bust a Move, but not the Bust a Move we were talking about.
No,
not Bust a Groove, but Puzzle Bobble. Yeah. He had a Bust a Move arcade machine in his office, which blew my mind.
Right.
But yeah, I had a chat with him. He seemed to like me well enough. He took me around and introduced me to the other people working at the magazine. At that point, it was shortly after, Crispin and Dan Shu had started working there. So I got to meet them for the first time. And a bunch of other people who kind of ended up getting out of the industry. But yeah, I met everyone, and they did sit me down and have me play some random video games.
Oh, right. You were hired when that was still a thing.
Yes.
Yeah. See, they didn't do that with me.
Yeah, I would imagine not, because it's kind of a weird require. I mean, to an extent I get it, but also we're gonna pick out like 3 or 4 random video games, and you need to prove to us that you're good at them.
Right.
Which it's a weird litmus test.
Yeah. Although I think it does. You're right. It makes a certain kind of sense, because I remember CJ telling a story about a guy that they were going to hire, and they sat him in front of, I think it was Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
And he couldn't make the car go.
Oh, really?
And just couldn't for the life of him figure out how to make the car move.
Oh, wow.
So all right. So that there's a point where that test makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, to a degree, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you could just be like, oh, what type of games do you like to play? You could, you could kind of,
you could suss that out without sitting in front of a controller.
Right. And just saying, okay, now play for us. Show us that you're good enough.
Perform, monkey.
Exactly. I only remember one game that they made me play. and it was Gunner's Heaven.
Oh wow.
Is that was that PS1 game that didn't come out here, and it was kind of like a Gunstar Heroes knockoff? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
I think so. I don't remember.
I'm looking this up. Gunner's Heaven PS1. Yes. Yes, indeed. It was Gunner's Heaven. So yeah, that was one of the games they made me play, and I had never played it before, but you know, I had played Gunstar Heroes and plenty of Contra and stuff like that. So I did well enough in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then they hired me to work for, I think they said like maybe 6 months, and it was part-time.
Is that how long it lasted? Oh, fun.
Of course, part-time meant you're going to be working 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
But we don't have to pay you insurance. But they did have to pay me overtime, which was nice.
That's good. So at least you're getting paid for your time.
So I was definitely getting pretty well, I mean, not well compensated, but
compensated.
For a guy who was like 20 or 21, whatever I was at the time.
Right.
22, I don't remember. It was pretty great. The first issue of EGM that I appeared in was issue 87. But I believe the first issue where I actually have my name in it was 88. I believe that's what happened. And the first, and I'm looking this up right now, the first thing I ever wrote for EGM, and this is so embarrassing to even think about. Issue 87 had Tomb Raider on the cover. Yep.
Nice.
Tomb Raider and 120 stars revealed in Mario 64.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got all the hot tips and tricks. The first thing that I had to write about for EGM was a preview article for Virtua Fighter, I want to say 3.
Is this the one where all you saw was a couple of screenshots and you had to write a whole article about it?
Sure was. I showed up for work, probably a few days later. And, I show up and I have no desk. I asked Ed, where's my desk? He said, you don't have one. I said, okay, great. Where do I write?
To a wonderful start.
And he's like, you'll have to just find somewhere to sit. And poor dear Sean Smith gave up half his cubicle. I was sort of sitting in a little corner of his cubicle. Occasionally, basically writing up my articles whenever Sean was done writing his.
God.
Here it is. I'm looking at it right now. A 2-page spread on Virtua Fighter 3. And the first day, I asked Ed, okay, well, what am I going to write? What's the first thing I need to write? He said, okay, we need a preview of Virtua Fighter 3. I said, okay, great. Is there, where can I play this? Do we, assuming we don't have a, arcade machine here, but is there an arcade around here that has a beta version or a playtest version?
No.
And he handed me a copy of Famitsu magazine, and he said, there are some pictures of it in here. And I said, okay. What else do we got? What information? Is there someone at Sega I can talk to? And he said, there are a few pictures of it in here. We need 2 pages. So
nice.
I had no information. I had an article I couldn't read, and some screenshots that they were going to scan out of another magazine to put into theirs. But I did. I wrote it. And oh my God. Don't go back and read your old stuff.
I go back and read my old stuff sometimes. It's not all terrible.
I'm looking at this, the first paragraph. You can tell I have no information about this game.
I was going to say, I mean, you're filling space.
You want to hear how badly? I'm going to read you the first paragraph of this.
Okay.
Sega is finally getting ready to unleash its ultimate 3D fighter on the gaming world. Virtua Fighter 3 is the 5th game in the Virtua Fighter series, which includes the hit games Virtua Fighter Remix, Virtua Fighter 2, and the ever-loving Virtua Fighter Kids. Longtime fans of the VF series will be glad to learn that all of their favorite characters have returned, and 2 brand new characters have joined the battle as well. So, right at the beginning, I'm eating up space by listing the full titles of every game in the series.
Yeah.
And throwing in Ever-Lovin' as, oh my God. See, this was the problem. You know, I had spent years reading video game magazines, so I was...
And that's what you were writing like.
That's how you write in a video game magazine.
See, that's interesting because, and I'm not saying I was the best at what I was doing, obviously, but
right.
The one of the motivating factors for me, because I grew up reading video game magazines. Well, grew up. I mean, what, 89 was when they really started to hit.
Right.
So, I mean, I was already 13, but, you know, reading all of the game magazines I could find. And one of the motivating factors for me was not only my passion for video games, but like, I knew I could do better than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
In my mind, I was confident I could do better than that. So
right.
But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I think we've definitely all been there. Although by the time I was at EGM, I don't think we were at the point that we're refilling 2 pages.
Yeah.
With information we didn't have.
Yeah.
We were kind of the standards were a little bit different at that point. But yeah. So that was it. That was your first experience.
That was my first experience. Also, you know, when he gave me this the magazine and told me to write an article, that's when I asked him where's my computer, and I didn't have one. He set me up in the one conference room that they had, because they had one conference room at the office, and I was sitting in there, and he gave me a yellow legal pad and a pen. So I sat there with a issue of Famitsu opened up, writing out my first preview that I would then go onto Sean's computer when he was done using it and type it all up. So
got to be doing something to get paid for that hour.
Yep. But yeah, so I worked there for a few months, and you know, eventually they had to let me go. But I, at that point, was kind of entrenched into the office culture. I was a known quantity. So they continued using me for freelance work, and then I started doing freelance work for like the official PlayStation magazine as well. So I was still doing a lot of work for Ziff, and then you know, eventually at some point down the line, Expert Gamer came a calling. They needed someone.
I think you, like me, were affected by the shuffle that happened due to gamers.com.
Oh yeah.
Because when that's how I ended up at EGM.
Okay.
Was when a group of people had left. John McCarty, Dan Shu.
Oh, right.
Was it Andrew? Who's one of the artists, one of the designers? Andrew Burwell.
Oh, yeah.
I think a few others, they all left for gamers.com. Okay. And then they did a big shuffle, right? Like,
right.
John Davison went from EGM to OPM, and then they put Joe Funk in charge of EGM. Mark McDonald was going to EGM from OPM. Joe Rubicki was supposed to go to EGM from OPM, but he didn't want to.
Oh, really?
And that's how I ended up at EGM. He went and made a case for me moving over instead.
Oh, interesting.
And I think you were hired to fill the gap that was left
basically
when
replace you.
Me or Todd, because Todd Zaniga also went to OPM from Expert Gamer. So the two of us moved off Expert Gamer.
Good.
And it was you and I think Slim Miller got hired around the same time.
Yes,
Kenneth
we did.
Miller. We called him Slim.
Yeah.
Because that was, and so he was, and that sort of moves into this to my story, which was Slim was one of the many members of the Vid Games MIRC channel, which I don't think you were in.
I was like the one person working at that magazine at the time who did not come from the Vid Games IRC channel.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up on that channel because I had started a website. Well, I was working at I was writing for a website. I wasn't getting paid. And it was, I also went to university for 2 years, was not successful. And I had ended up working at video game stores, much like you. We didn't have Babbage's or anything like that. They were locally owned. But what that did do is offer me the opportunity they were rental places, was to play everything. Because, I was managing the store. If something wasn't rented in the evening, I could take it home and play it. And was also getting into being online at that time, because this was the mid 90s. And there was a ton of fan sites that were popping up around then. And I was on the news groups was where I was meeting people. And somebody put out a call to write for his website, and it was called The Daily Gamer, I think. And that got kind of snapped up and partnered with a website called Gaming Enthusiast Online.
Oh, okay.
Which was run by Sam Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, which people, I'm not sure what he's doing today exactly. But anyway, he was running this website, and we ended up leaving. He had a publisher, and we ended up leaving Gaming Enthusiast Online because the relationship with the publisher wasn't going well, but they got to keep the name. So we founded a website called Gaming Age. Sam and I, Jim Cordera, Dave Toole, Dennis Day, Brady Fichter. There was a bunch of us. And so we founded this website, which, by the way, if you ever went to NeoGAF or now Resetera, those all grew out of gamingage.com.
Yeah.
And that's where we got hooked up with MIRC and the Vid Games channel. And that was where all the EGM and OPM folks, not all of them, but a lot of them, were hanging out. I think because a lot of them came from Fusion and Intelligent Gamer Online and stuff like that. And anyway, that was where I met John Riccardi. That's where I met Mark McDonald. And I was editor-in-chief of Gaming Age at the time. And when they were starting to do hiring and stuff like that, I was just one of the people who was on the list. And I remember the very first E3 that I went through, which was E3 1998, I believe, which was in Atlanta. Just before that, Mark was editor-in-chief of one of the one-offs or specials, I think we called them, that was called Pocket Games.
Oh, yeah.
First issue of Pocket Games. And he had reached out and said, would you like to do some reviews? Like they were sort of EGM style capsule reviews. Our names weren't on them. They were generally really short. Like I think 100, 150 words or something like that. And he said, and that was around the time the Game Boy Color came out. And he was just like, do you have a Game Boy? Okay. Do you want to write I think like 20 or 30 reviews for me? And he just sent me a package with a bunch of Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games to review, which I was doing while we were heading down to E3. I was writing them while I was at E3.
Oh, man.
And anyway, so did those, and those got published, and that was awesome. And what it really was a dry run because John Riccardi had recently become the editor-in-chief of Expert Gamer. He'd moved over from EGM. He was part of the review crew there. And I think someone must have left or got shuffled around or something, but he had an opening anyway. He had a couple openings. I think Todd Zuniga was the other guy that he had hired pretty recently. And he wanted to hire me. Oh. And I think it was very much a like, get this guy to do something. There's a fly in here that I want to kill. Get this guy to do something so that he has, some sort of portfolio basically, and that we know him. And so, yeah, he called me down for an interview. Not with him, because I knew John pretty well from IRC, but with Joe Funk. So that's where I met Joe for the first time. And they hired me based on that interview. But of course, because I was in Canada, we had to worry about work visas and stuff like that. Hey, look, it's a cat.
That's a little Kiki.
So while we were waiting for the work visa to come through, they had sent me a copy of Grandia for the PlayStation 1. And that was supposed to be my first guide. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Expert Gamer, it grew out of EGM 2.
Yes.
Which was the magazine that would come out every other 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So EGM would come out, then EGM 2 would come out 2 weeks later, then the next issue of EGM would come out.
Yes.
But it morphed pretty fast into not just being previews, but they started to do strategy guides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it became a magazine called Expert Gamer, which was entirely tricks and strategies. It was tips. It was competition for Tips and Tricks magazine.
Right.
Which, by the way, we never beat.
Oh, no.
And no, that thing was a juggernaut. But anyway, they got me to do that. And so that was supposed to be my first issue. But then I think it was Final Fantasy Origins was coming out.
Yeah.
And they desperately needed someone to do a strategy guide, but they didn't have the time to ship it to me. And I don't think I had a place. Well, I must have, because I was playing Grandia. I was going to say, I don't think I had something to play, but they didn't have a disc to send me, or, it was going to take too long to send it to me. So John said, like, could you come down here for a week, down to Chicago for a week and write this strategy guide, which was fine. Cause it was for Final Fantasy 4, I think was on that disc, 4 or 6, which I'd played a dozen times. It's like, okay. I mean, I could play that game in my sleep anyway. So, I went down there, and I vividly remember the first time I ever saw after my interview, I guess, the first time I ever worked in the Ziff Davis office. This was when we were in Oak Brook.
Okay.
And I got there. There was a car waiting for me at the airport, a limo, which Ziff Davis used because they were cheaper than cabs from O'Hare. And there was nobody there to answer the door because I got there at night. Nobody there from Expert Gamer anyway. So I stood there knocking on the door, and Gary Steinman, who was the managing editor of OPM at the time, let me in. And my first impression of Gary was how mad he was at John Riccardi for not leaving anyone from the magazine there to meet me that I was supposed to be working with. But it was late at night, and it just so happened that OPM was on deadline.
Oh,
so they were all there. So yeah, my first real experience working there was to meet the staff of OPM. And I think I shared their dinner.
That's funny.
But yeah, then the next day I came back in and met Andy Barron, because he was always there first.
Oh yeah.
And learned about Cincinnati style and yeah, that was my first experience. And then I flew back home, and a couple of months, or I think a month later, I came back down and got an apartment. Actually, I think that week I might have picked my apartment. Gone out and found my apartment. And then a month later we drove down with all my worldly possessions, and I started my career at Ziff Davis. But yeah, I was there for like 6 months, I think, before I moved to EGM.
Okay.
And I think that was when you got hired, was right around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then ruined that magazine and turned it into Game Now.
Sorry.
Whoever wanted that?
I mean, not the readers.
No. But they never wanted Expert Gamer either.
That is also true.
So I couldn't believe. I remember talking to John when he was saying he wanted to hire me for Expert Gamer. I'm like, I don't know anything about writing strategies.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not interested in that. I've never done that. And he's like, dude, it's a foot in the door. Like, just, it'll get you here. And
yeah,
worry about the rest later.
That was pretty much my exact thought as well. I was just like, I'm not qualified to write strategy guides. I have no interest in it, but it was just like, but I do want to work at the magazine.
Yeah.
And this seems like the only way I'm going to be able to for now.
And I thought I'd made it because, especially when I went over to EGM.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't realize that the internet was gaining, and that print magazines were going to struggle, but just being part of the games media because, I was a university dropout.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have a lot of prospects, but it's still what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And I had sort of prepared for the idea that we were going to be shifting to online more than anything else. Right. I didn't really prepare for how drastic everything was and how completely everything failed. But anyway, yeah. But that was my first experience.
Very nice.
Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this after show. I hope you enjoyed listening to that, Phil. I hope you enjoyed telling that story. Oh, it looks like you have something to say.
Goodbye.
Oh,
no.
Yes.
I did want to throw this in real quick. I'm going to say this. When I first got hired full time at the magazine, which was, of course, Expert Gamer, on my first day there, someone came up to me and welcomed me to the magazine and said, "Let's go get some dinner afterwards." You know who that person was?
It wasn't me, was it?
That was Greg Seward.
Oh, wow. That was really nice.
My very first day, Greg, and actually Todd was there too. Todd joined us. But yes, you said, let's go get some dinner. And we went and got dinner.
Man, what a couple of cool guys.
I know, right? So there you go.
Todd's in Australia now.
Is he? What's he doing?
Being married.
To Australia?
Married an Australian lady.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's Adrian. And he goes by his first name now. Because Todd's not his first name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what he does. I mean, he just released a book recently, I think. And he, does literary deathmatch. It's this thing he's been going for years and years. He's still doing it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Huh.
Yep. Those were the days.
Good.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed reminiscing about that. Thank you so much for your patronage. We really do appreciate it. And I guess we'll talk at you all next week.
Yeah. So long.
Toodaloo.